Another thing that I've come to find myself doing is it's my mentality. It's being aware of how I'm talking to myself. If I'm overexerting myself, or if I feel like I've really hit that wall, being aware of my thoughts have helped out tremendously, because it's the way that I talk to myself. I'm telling myself, you got this, you can do this, keep moving forward, breathe, just things like that.
Good. Well, it's fantastic that you've already been able to become aware of those thoughts, right? That's step number one. Step number two is understanding that you are not your thoughts. What does that mean, right? When you go to sleep at night, you don't decide what to dream. When you wake up in the morning, you didn't decide to worry about, I have to get to the gym on time, I have to do this, and this tasks, right? Your brain runs on autopilot. And remember that all of those thoughts of, I don't want to go any further, I don't want to push any harder, maybe I'm done for the day, I don't want to work out today. Those are all there to help you, right? Because our brain wants to protect us from overexerting ourselves, from going towards danger, which this stress of working out feels like to the brain and body. So the most important part is to be able to recognize when that happens. To be able to do that, we have to control our state, which is why we talked a lot about the breathing in between, right? Staying calm. The more calm we can stay and you can stay, the more you'll be able to become aware of those thoughts. Once you're aware of what's happening, you're like, yep, completely makes sense. I'm exerting myself pretty hard. No wonder my brain is telling me these things. Then you can go ahead and change the way you think, or use visualization techniques to go into the next set, right? If you just leave yourself running, you will always have these thoughts of control, or what's going to happen next, right? Or how it's going to feel. But if you can just visualize your next set or your next modality of training while you're resting, you'll be able to go straight into it and have less of these worrying or quitting thoughts.
One of the things, though, that I'm really having a hard time with, other than just pushing through some of the weight, is my conditioning. If I'm doing a superset or something, when I'm lifting, it just gets this. I just get exhausted really fast. I don't feel like I'm losing my strength, like I'm too weak to push something. It's more like my conditioning, like I'm having a hard time catching my breath.
Yeah, absolutely. So one, being able to control our state in between sets and reset our baseline so that we can perform at 100% is incredibly important. During the middle of the workout, you're not going to be able to improve your conditioning, right? This is all part of the process of while you're training. The one thing we can do immediately in the moment is change our breathing mechanics, right? And this is changing our stress response to training. So make sure that in between each set, you take that as a deliberate time for recovery. Focus on the breath coming from the diaphragm, moving your ribs, slow, deliberate breaths, right? This is how you fuel the body with oxygen and be able to go for the next set. It'll also keep you calmer between sets and allow your mind to be to respond instead of sort of reacting, right? You'll get a little bit less of those negative thoughts and believe them a little bit less. But the conditioning goal is just to be able to take control a little bit more and more each training session that you go for. So work on that breath control the second you put down the weight until you go into the next set.
I'm catching myself bending over after a set if I'm too tired, when I need to keep my hands above my head and keep that flow of air going in and out of my body.
Just remember, standing tall, rib cage open. This way we can use all of our lungs. The other part of it is just, the nerves are this whole network throughout your entire body. And when you close up and sort of clam forward and rest like that, you're essentially telling your body that you're tired and out of breath, right? You can change your internal environment just by standing up tall, making yourself feel confident, breathing easier. and that next set should be easier. And if you can carry that throughout the workout, you can most likely see a really big change on how you feel at the end. Are you able to sort of recognize what's happening and becoming aware, especially when that heart rate starts to get jacked up throughout the workout? The closer and closer we get to our max threshold, the more that you'll start believing what's going on in your head, and we act on emotion versus reason. And having the knowing before you go into the session that this is what you need to do and that there's no way out. And recognizing those thoughts coming should be a key point where if you can have that awareness, now you have a point to trigger yourself to say, okay, let me try to relax my state and change my thinking and my thought process. Have specific points where you can recognize what's happening and then have a tool to change the way you think going into the next set or the next round. Typically, these cravings, or when people need to reach for a cigarette or alcohol, right? It's all some sort of self-medication. It's all some sort of soothing. So can you ask yourself, what am I trying to soothe? What am I trying to find relief from? Think about, is the cookie itself actually the problem? Or is it my mental state that's the problem? So maybe is that something that you can feel literally, like possibly an increased heart rate, feeling a little bit agitated, sort of not knowing what to do with yourself. Maybe this is during the day, or maybe it's at night, right? When it's time to calm down, we'll always reach for things to down regulate our nervous system and essentially chill out before we go to bed, right? These are all completely normal processes. This is why I say, like, the person that reaches for the cookie at the end of the night, the cookie isn't the issue. The person that drinks a 6-pack of beer at the end of the night, the beer isn't the issue. We're just using things to self-medicate. So what can we replace instead of that? If you're feeling anxiety, and the first is awareness, so understanding what's happening in your body, using your body as a notification system. And then what can we do around that? So things like breath work, calming yourself down at the end of the night, right? Doing some really slow breathing, going for a long walk after dinner or something like that. That's also sort of, when you go into those next times and you feel like you want to quit, just remember why you're there. Remember that your goal is always searching for a limit, and you'll never find it, right? We're just trying to get 1% better each time. And if you can train your mind to do that, your body will follow.
It's been incredible to have, people like you in my corner to motivate me through this, man, because it's not easy. And anybody who tells you that you can do it on your own, that's a flat out lie.
We all always need somebody to push, right? Acting as an accountability coach. Like I said before, I believe you have all the answers you need, inside, and I just kind of act as a guide and somebody to hold you accountable. The other thing you talked about was motivation, and looking at a big picture goal of how you want to be for this next role is big and lofty. And if we just look at that, your brain will automatically go to the survival mode of, I'm never going to make it, or this is too hard, things like that. So to build motivation, I really like to use discipline, and using that as sort of the tinder that stokes the fire of motivation. So set really, really small goals each day that you can hit. Once you can hit them every day and you feel like you're having these small wins every day, then you're building an entire culture of winning throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month. This may only mean putting your all into your warm-up, feeling perfectly warmed up before you go into your workout. Maybe giving 100% effort or hitting a certain amount of weight on a certain part of the workout. Maybe that's sticking to a diet for a day. Maybe that's stretching for an extra 10 minutes a day. Maybe that's going for a walk, right? If you can identify these really small, achievable wins every day, it just builds this momentum and gives your brain a little hit of achievement every day. And then now you're building a process and a system to get to that end goal. And it doesn't seem like there's such a gap on how to get there, right? And you're feeling that feeling of motivation and winning every day. So by the time you're at the end of this, before you prepare for the roll, you're like, yeah, no wonder I'm in the shape I'm in, because I prepared for this every day, and every part of my day I had these little goals along the way. How you doing, Leon? How's everything going with the training?
I'm so sore, man. So sore.
Good.
But I feel good. I feel like every day I'm getting stronger and stronger.